My name's Erin and welcome back to Games Mania.
Welcome back, McFly.
Hi. Right, so last week we finished at 1985 on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So we're going to pick up from there this week, and I'm just going to give you some information about the NES, which is, I think, one of the most successful and important consoles in history. So
This is the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah, Nintendo Entertainment System. So it was first released in Japan under the name Famicom, which stands for Family Computer, in 1983. And then it was released in North America in 1985 and released worldwide by 97, I think. 87, sorry. Yeah, I think that's about right.
What kind of games did they have?
Well, I don't know much about the Japanese games, but I know over here, when it first was released, it was released with 17 games, I think. I haven't got all 17 games listed, but there was obviously Duck Hunt, Final Fantasy was a big one, Legends of Zelda as well.
So they're RPG games.
Yeah. Then Mario, Metroid. There was Super Mario Bros. 1, 2 and 3 on the NES, which are really popular games. Kirby's Adventure, Donkey Kong, Tetris, Dr. Mario, those kind of things, which are also names that we still see today as well, like titles we still see today.
True.
It's very, very successful, game sort of thing going on there, but yeah. So yeah, back in 83, we're at the Famicom in Japan. One of the sort of developers, he brought home a ColecoVision, and his wife and kids loved it. And
did they get any leather coats with that?
It was delivered on a big truck.
Yeah. No? Okay.
So yeah, right. ColecoVision at the time had really amazing graphics, and it was really smooth. And they actually said that head of development for Nintendo at the time said that it set the bar for what they wanted to achieve. They wanted to recreate those smooth graphics and get it to sort of arcade standard, because that's what people wanted. And as well, the NES also uses the same processing chip that the Atari 2600 uses, but the engineers in Nintendo managed to get more out of it, so they managed to really strain the chip, and they produced some of the best quality style graphics and stuff that we've seen early on in games and things like that.
Now wait a minute, we're talking about 85, right?
Yeah.
So
83 at this point.
83. So when you say quality graphics, help us out with that period, because we had that whole dot matrix kind of thing.
Well, that's pretty much all that was around before then. It was all sort of little pixels, little dots, little lines, and then when
very square.
Yeah. Everything was square. Everything.
Right.
Then Nintendo came along, and it's still all squares, but they've managed to bring in 8-bit technology. So
yeah, that's what it is. 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, yeah.
So this is way better looking than anything people have seen at this point. It's wow, that looks amazing. That looks like something I'd find in the arcades, which is what they wanted. The issue with the NES was that they wanted to break the North American market. They wanted to sell it in North America, but North America was still very broken from the video game crash. The consumer confidence was really low. They didn't want video games really, because they've just had so many years of being messed about.
Yeah.
That they don't want more crappy games on the shelves and stuff. But Nintendo, the sort of head of Nintendo, was no, this game needs to get into the hands of the consumer. It needs to get on the shelves. People will love this. It's amazing. So they decided that they were going to make a deal with Atari.
Deal with the devil.
Indeed, it never happened. Thankfully, it never happened because they were at where it was one of the conventions at the time. Can't remember for the life of me. Name's just gone out of my head.
Shut up, voice from heaven.
It was the Consumer Electronics something, 1984, I think.
Consumer Electronics Guide. It was a magazine.
There was also like a convention sort of thing you could go to.
Well, obviously, yeah.
So,
for all those who were playing games.
Yeah, and like show any like electronics and stuff. So they go to Warner and they're talking with Atari and they're like, yeah, this sounds really good. We'll like come up with like a deal, a contract plan, blah blah blah. So they're at the consumer development thing, the electronics thing, sorry, and the owner of Atari sees that on one of the Coleco's new console, Adam, wasn't a console, it was a computer, Adam was playing Donkey Kong, and they were like, hang on a minute, we've just like bought, like we're meant to be signing contracts for licenses with Nintendo, but they're getting to use that game. That's like a breach of our contract, a breach of agreement. And he threw a bit of a hissy fit and the deal never happened. So they couldn't make it into the North American market with that little flagship to carry them. They had to do it all by themselves.
So the Adam bite the apple.
Yeah, let's say that.
All right. Snake in the grass. Yeah, right. Voice from heaven.
So they had to sort of redesign the system if they wanted it to sell over here because, not over here, in America, because it was just so low. People didn't want to know really. So when they redesigned the Famicom, they wanted to make it look less like a video game console, more like a computer, because that's what was getting popular. So that's what they released. They released basically a home computer. Came with a keyboard and a joystick. So came with a keyboard, joystick, a couple of other accessories, but everything worked with infrared technology, which at the time was like, wow, it's all wireless.
So this is back to the gun thing, isn't it?
The gun, it did come with a gun actually, yeah. That was the other accessory it came with.
Because that was infrared technology.
Yeah, and that was like a big deal, but people didn't want it. It was people saw it and it was like, well, this is just another console, another like thing we're being sold, not something like, it was expensive as well. It just didn't, no one bought any units when they showcased it. No one wanted any of it, so it's like, right, back to the drawing board. The head of Nintendo really, really thought that this had potential, so they were like, right, we're gonna really work for this. So they decided that they were gonna redesign the system again to make it even less like a video game console, and they didn't want it to look like a computer either. They were like, don't know what they were really going for, but what we got out of it was what the NES looks like now. They actually called that the lunchbox back in the day. That's what it was named as.
Really?
So like, you can see where it gets its name from as well if you look at it.
I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to find a picture.
Well, yeah, the NES. Have you seen what a NES looks like?
And then NES.
Yeah.
All right, don't put me on the spot.
Well, it's light grey.
A picture. I'll say the picture that just rolled up is what an NES looks like.
It's light grey. It's got a black strip on it, dark grey underneath, Nintendo ring on it. Yeah, it's very basic design, I think, but it worked.
But it worked.
So they wanted to make it look less like a gaming system, and that is the reason. You'll notice there's no cartridge slot on the NES. It doesn't go into the top like.
So it's not a top loader.
No, like we've seen all the others so far. This isn't. It's got a flap on it. You lift it up, you push the cartridge in, you push it down, close the flap, press play.
Kind of like a Simon game.
Yeah, it's a bit like a.
Did it light up too when you push it down? Slide it in, push it down, lights up. Woo-hoo.
Do you know what it is like though? God, I can't remember what they're called. Video players. You put the tape in and it brings it down.
Like a laser disc?
No, like a videotape.
Oh, a top loader videotape. Yeah. VHS.
You put it into the thing and then it like slots down, doesn't it? That's kind of what it was like.
Yeah, we call those top loaders and stuff like that. Well, because you would slide it in and then it goes down. So it comes up.
Yeah.
You put the tape in, goes down. And then the VHS, you got a little bit more simpler where they just went straight in.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much how it worked. You put it in, click it down, game plays. So they hid the cartridge port so it didn't look like a gaming system. So it didn't look like, oh, there's a video game console and there you put the cartridge. They were trying to avoid that. So got rid of that. They also changed the name of it from like video game system to entertainment system.
Ah.
Which was a very like smart marketing tool they used there, because it meant that people weren't looking at it and going video games, they were looking at it going entertainment.
Yeah, and then everybody had an entertainment system back then. You know, turn the lights out, put the music on, and yeah, that's my entertainment system. I'm just saying. All of a sudden, my voice went into Barry White. Click cheese on Barry White mode. Yeah.
So,
Good
right.
you don't know what I'm talking about.
I know what Barry White is.
Moving on.
So yeah, right. They changed the name of it. They changed the name of cartridges from video games to game packs. And they also changed the name of a console to a control deck. Making it sound really cool, to be honest, like with all these cool
It sounds
games.
like I'm in Star Trek here. You know what I mean?
Well, it was 85.
Well, I know, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
You know,
you got
Star Trek
a lot
was dead
of-
by then, but you know, hey,
A
what
lot
are
of
we gonna do?
futuristic things coming around.
Battlestar Galactica, really.
And then the other thing that they also made the game boxes. You'll notice that before 1985, if you buy a video game from like the 70s, for instance, the box, the sort of image on the front doesn't represent what the game's like at all.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, looking at Atari games, they don't have gameplay footage on them. They have a separate image. So with the E.T. game, it was a picture of Elliot, is it, and E.T. on the front instead of the sprites, which is what Nintendo did. They put actual gameplay and sprites on the front of their games so that they were honest. Essentially, people looked at them and knew what they were getting out of them when they bought them and stuff like that. They kept it very very open to the consumer because they wanted to gain the consumer trust, obviously. And then after that, it was time. You okay? After that,
This is what happens when old people give me phones.
giving old people technology.
No, you gotta get the two-shot again. Alright, hey, click.
Okay, so after they redesigned the system, which by the way they only had an hour to do.
What do you mean?
They had an hour to redesign all the hardware.
No way, why?
Well, because I don't know why they only had an hour. I've completely forgot about that. You just put.
I'm sorry, I only here to ask questions.
The brain's just gone blank there. I can't remember why they were only given an hour.
That's because we got a photographer trying to take pictures.
Yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, they had to get this in the market, obviously.
Yeah.
Time to sell, time to get it out there. They don't want to just go in all guns blazing, put all the money into this and this, and push it because people aren't going to buy that. So what they did was they decided to test the water, and they only released it in New York. So if you wanted a Nintendo Entertainment System, you had to go to New York to get one. Another thing that they did to try and sell the system more was that they offered to manage all NES stock and set up display units in the stores for free, and they said they'd like provide the systems and that for free for 90 days. After 90 days, the store would have to continue buying. They thought it would, if they thought they were getting enough out of it, kind of thing. So, you know, if you're a toy company back in the day and someone's coming to you and they're saying, we'll offer you 90 days of completely free stock and advertisement, you're gonna take it, basically.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a no-brainer, you're gonna take it. So obviously stores lapped that up. And then when the system actually came out, it was released with 17 games, something like Mario Bros, Clue Land, Excite Bike, those kind of games.
Oh man, Excite Bike.
Excite Bike's
I remember Excite Bike when it was on the little Game Boy though. Is this what we're talking?
I don't know about that.
Well, you know, like when you ride the bike and then you can flip it like in the air.
It was on the NES on the.
Yeah,
the
but
control,
it was on the Game Boy too, wasn't it?
I didn't know
I
about
played
it
it
being
on the Game Boy.
Don't know.
Okay.
It might have been on a Game Boy.
You just excited me about Excite Bike, and then you don't even know it was on the Game Boy.
It probably is on the Game Boy somewhere. I'll have to look into that.
Originally, it was on the Game
I'll have to do more research on Excite Bike.
Oh man.
But yeah, so yeah, those are the kind of games that are released there. They also did this thing where they introduced a lock chip into their games, which meant that onto the console. It meant basically only Nintendo games could be played on Nintendo systems, so you couldn't have third parties making jar copies of games like you had going back in 1970 whatever, or 1982. You had all these people making fake versions of this and fake versions of that you could play on your 2600 at home. Instead now they're like, nope, if you want to play a Nintendo game you have to buy a Nintendo system. If you want to play the Nintendo system you have to buy the Nintendo game, kind of thing. People couldn't make any pirated games anymore, which was a big step because that was one of the main issues that ruined the video game market in North America. So the fact that they did that was actually like a positive movement for the gaming industry there. Gave them complete control over what was getting released for their system. So along with the actual console, they released a number of accessories that came with it. You could buy a deluxe pack, which came with Rob the robot, the Zapper gun. I think it came with a Rob compatible game and a Zapper gun game, so Duck Hunt it would have come with, and the 2 controllers and the system. And that was the deluxe set. That was like big deal kind of thing. It was about $250 or something like that at the time.
So you didn't have that kind of money. But I do know Rob the Robot ended up on Super Smash Bros. As a character
he's
and everything.
still referenced a lot of Nintendo. I'm going to come back to Rob because he actually played a massive part in this, but
Right, okay.
there's a few other little accessories here that I feel like I should probably mention. So obviously the NES Zapper was a big one. It also came with an action pack where you could just buy the Zapper and the console kind of thing. So games that was compatible with were games like Duck Hunt, Wild Gunman, Freedom Force, don't know if you know that one.
I already know the superhero TV show with Hercules.
No, I don't know that, so.
Well, you know, Super Samurai, all that kind of stuff.
And another one, Space Shadow. Don't know if you've heard of that one either.
When you heard of Space Ghost?
Space Shadow is kind of based off like the Alien games. If you ever look at some gameplay footage of Space Shadow, it looks like really old Doom / Alien style. Like you've got aliens dropping out and all over the place, and you have to shoot them in this corridor.
Kind of like asteroids or something like that.
Yeah, it's very like sci-fi kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Konami in 1990 released an extension for the Zapper gun, which I found very interesting. I found out about this the other day, and I was just like, quite surprised by it. They released something called the laser scope, which was a headset that you wore while you were playing NES games.
You know.
Instead of blasting things, you'd shout fire down the mic, and it'd fire on the screen.
No way. So voice activated,
Yeah.
like, wow. And this is before VR games?
Yeah. So
Wow.
this is Nintendo touched a lot on VR. Very
Yeah.
early
Well,
on.
wait a minute. Are we sure? What year are we talking about?
This is 1990, so this is quite later on, but this is one of the extensions that came out for the light gun. So,
Because I'm thinking
because earlier than that was the Power Glove, which
the
is
Power Glove,
yeah,
which of course is based on Michael Jackson's. But like the thing about it is that wow, I remember this Power Glove thing as well. It's like you had the glove, and then it's like it causes you to kind of like move things around, and then
you just move things on the screen with it.
wow, cool.
It was sold separately to the actual console and that, so it didn't actually. It sold pretty well, but it wasn't good. It wasn't really developed properly. It was hard to operate. It was very unreliable. So people.
But they had great commercials, so they made a lot of money.
Also, this futuristic sci-fi glove, you want that as a kid. As a kid growing up in the 80s, you're surrounded by like.
You gotta
the future
understand
sort of
something,
thing.
Aaron. I mean, you know, you're pretty young there, McFly. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about a period of time where I think there was a TV show called VR Troopers, and we also must have had Automan, you know what I mean? And Tron and all that kind of stuff. So anything that would make us in the audience feel like we could be as futuristic as the sci-fi equivalent of shows that were on, you know, they had our money.
Yeah.
So
That's where it's at.
Yeah. Remember I told you gotta examine the world around you, girl? You know what I mean?
That actually is a good place to bring in Rob, to be honest. Just after the Power Glove. Because what you're saying about there is like anything that could make you feel like you're in the future, and like a sci-fi film kind of thing. Rob was that tool Rob was...
Rob was that tool.
He wasn't really...
Rob was that tool.
Do you know what he was? He wasn't a character, he wasn't much loved, he was a selling point, he was a marketing tool for Nintendo.
Yeah, but see, the thing about it is Rob, see, again, I'm sorry, I keep doing this to you, McFly. Rob, again, looks like Herbie, the robot from the Fantastic Four cartoon. Did you ever see this robot?
No.
Alright, so I'll put up a picture for you. But Herbie the robot, and he looked a lot like Rob and everything like that in that case, from the Rob version I've seen in Super Smash Bros. So, you know, everything is, what do you call that? Reissued, retreaded.
So, like, rehashed, yeah.
Yeah, rehashed, yeah. So, okay, go on.
So, like, yeah, Rob was obviously looking like a lot of things that were at the time as well. As a kid, if you see that you can get a robot that is going to play games with you, you're going to buy it, you're going to want that.
Of course, I want my own robot.
Despite the fact that it was really slow, it was really hard to set up, it only came with 2 games. The other games were never, like, released. Shows how good Rob is, isn't it? Like,
yeah. Wait a minute, you know what? Remember Rocky 3 with a robot? He bought his kid a robot for Christmas? Anyway, move on.
I haven't seen Rocky, so I can't even laugh at that.
Car crash! Did you go away and watch Last Starfighter?
No, I didn't. I forgot.
Oh, man!
I was hoping you weren't going to ask because I completely forgot.
Oh, man!
I do want to watch that though, I do want to watch that.
Okay, okay, move on.
So yeah, Rob came out with the system. Now, like, the way Rob works is he's just this sort of robot kind of looking character. He pushes buttons and moves things, picks things up and moves things, and that's it, really.
That's all robots do.
But at the time, mind-blowing stuff. So you get Rob, it came with 2 games. Let's see if I've written the games down here. Gyromite and Stack Up. Now I can't remember the gameplay properly for them. Just gone blank on that as well. But they weren't very exciting games. Like, they were fun and you could play them and you get to play with your robot. But the robot was really slow. The games weren't very interesting.
Sounds like your dad.
Oh god. So yeah, right. Back to this. So yeah, when Rob came out, very slow, games weren't very interesting, blah 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 blah. But people stayed because the system was so good and the games that were coming out of the system were amazing. So you go for the robot, you don't stay for the robot just gets shoved in a wardrobe somewhere. No one really looks at that, but then you've got Mario Bros. And you've got Legend of Zelda, and you've got Kirby's Adventure, and these amazing games are coming out. Like I said before, names that we still hear and see today. And that is all thanks to this little robot that made the console sell, and it sold out pretty well in America, and then they released it a bit more like broad. I think it went to parts of Europe as well in '96, and then by '97 it was a worldwide sort of thing. So it was a big hit.
Little Robbie.
It revived the gaming industry because because Nintendo did it right. Basically, they knew what people wanted. They knew how to get it to people. They knew how to, like, make sure that the quality was always up to scratch. You see the Nintendo seal of approval, and that means it's been, like, quality, like, confirmed and stuff like that.
Sounds like Robbie the Robot was like that Tetley bear.
The what?
The Tetley bear. You know, the bear like Johnny Vegas. You know, like the bear that makes you, like, drink the tea.
Oh, the Tetley bear. Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Come on, girl. You know, gee, right? She's like, oh, what?
So yeah, like Rob, I think was the whole gaming industry. I feel is carried on Rob's shoulders.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's a question to ask people. I guess, is Rob really to thank for the revival of the video game industry and for the success of Nintendo over here and in Europe as well?
Yeah.
I think he is. Well, it's open to debate, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no. I mean, you know, it's funny, you know, because if you actually go all the way back in history, as you like doing, do you know who the first Robbie the Robot was?
No, what do you mean?
Well, in sci-fi, you know, when they started making films in the 50s about space, right, they had this character called Robbie the Robot, which was a big black, you know, robot, you know, like kind of like ball-like arms, like the Michelin Man.
Oh, yeah.
And everything. So it was he debuted in a film called like Forbidden Planet. Thanks, man. I didn't need that help. Yeah, so he was in a film called Forbidden Planet. And then, you know, then they kind of like customized him a little bit differently for Lost in Space. Yeah. You know, and do you remember Lost in Space?
I vaguely know about Lost in Space.
Yeah, because there's a new version on Netflix. But
yeah, I'm on to it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, but then they realized because they had the robot Danger Will Robinson. But then what happened was is that they actually brought in the original Robbie the Robot onto that show. Yeah, they did. Anyway, so this whole, because robot, Robbie, but it's just kind of interesting how it existed throughout, you know, this whole like sci-fi generational thing, and to this point where you're talking about.
It is a generational thing as well, yeah.
Like, you know, to the point where you're talking about this little Robbie the Robot who was revolutionizing.
See, like, I didn't know that one of the first on-screen robots was called Rob. Like, that's...
I don't think they had a name for him, but it was the nickname for him was Robbie the Robot. But I'm not sure if they called him Robbie in that movie. Did they? Okay, fine. Now I gave him a chance to speak, and he don't want to. Yeah, well, yeah.
the term like Rob, the Nintendo Rob, actually stands for Robotic Operating Buddy. So maybe they got the name Rob from the show, and we're just like, right, we're gonna put an acronym to that, so to make it seem more original, like Robotic Operating Buddy.
Clever that. What are you gonna do? And stuff.
You could put it on silent at least.
Yeah, okay, that's cute. We're coming down to the end. So what do we got now?
Well, that's pretty much all I've got to say on that one. If anyone else has got any interesting facts about the Nintendo Entertainment System or about early Nintendo at the time, then feel free to let me know. I'm always interested to see what other people.
But also, please, berate this young lady McFly here in the chat. Tell her, how could you not look at The Last Starfighter? You said last week you were gonna look at it.
I promise I will watch it. I will watch it eventually. I promise.
We can talk about it next week. Well done there, McFly. Again, you know, great research in the history of NES and everything like that. Do you have an idea where you're going next time?
Yeah, next week I want to talk about another popular console at the time, which was the Master System from Sega.
The Sega Master System?
Yeah.
But also, did you say you were going to bring something in over?
Well, yeah, eventually I want us to talk about some Game Boys.
Yeah, especially a Cyberbike, maybe.
Excited, yeah. I'll have to do some more research onto that one as well.
You know what, man? On the Game Boy, the Cyberbike was great because one, it was like a motocross. You know, that just all it just did was just go across the screen, so the screen just kept rolling over ad nauseum. But the way you could just keep, press the button to flip the bike. Yeah. Was like the best thing about it.
It's mad to see.
I mean, you do know the game though, right?
Yeah.
You just didn't know it was on the Game Boy.
No, I had no idea. Yeah. It's cool to see how like that's something you would have played as a kid.
Oh yeah, all the time.
And you see what kids are playing now. It's completely different.
Yeah, well, no, exactly, because it's like it was like a stick figure biker, so it's like you don't. It's kind of like my son, you could get him the simplest of game that lasts forever, but then you get him the new games and he plays it once and then, that's it. It's like, so it was something about the simplicity of the bike, anybody could just concentrate on that. It's the same thing with Tetris,
Tetris
the blocks just keep dropping.
I'm addicted to Tetris constantly.
Well, Tetris, yeah, but Candy Crush, what the hell is that? I mean, seriously. I know what it is, but it's just like
arcade style games. There's never not going to be a time for like mobile gaming now. A lot of the games on there are arcade style games. Yeah. There's never not going to be a need for simplicity.
No. But I mean, see, when you say arcade style games, I think the thing about the correlation you have to keep remembering is moving the arcade into the home.
Yeah.
You know, just like what you
it's
said
all
last
about.
week about Vectrix. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, we want you to have that arcade experience, but in your home.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's what everyone was trying to recreate.
exactly. So.
And now we don't even have arcades. Like.
No, but you do have a lot of people sitting around in their underwear playing like different games. On the
Yeah, I
computer
suppose
and
so.
stuff
I
like that.
suppose it's that.
You know what I mean? No, well, you know.
Go on,
You
man.
know?
Oh.
I'm not even gonna reply. But anyway, McFly, take us out of here.
Okay, so yeah, that was a brief history on the Nintendo Entertainment System. I hope you enjoyed.
Until next time.
Oh yeah. So next time talking about the
No,
Master
until next
System,
time.
and
No.
until then, I was
Oh.
yeah.
All right.
Next week we're going to be talking about the Master System, but until then, game on.